And here we go, start of a new week. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. That's right, you found Coffee Talk if you're listening now, where we will be having a discussion about what is going on in the world today, taking a look at some snippets from the news, reading some articles, and having a little bit of discussion. And of course, you can find me Monday through Friday live on YouTube, either at Coffee Talk Live or at Prepper University, Coffee Talk and Prepper University, respectively, simultaneously broadcasting at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as well as on X, formerly known as Twitter, and that is at Coffee Talk Chat, and Fistful of Radio, fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Friday at noon, as we get ready to jump in here while we still can. I see Helter is here, Dragon is here, Brian is here, Boogers, D-Lo, Semper Fi is here. And D-Lo reminds people, thumbs up. Yes, please do. If you don't mind, I'll take all the help I can get. Thumbs up are much appreciated as we get ready to jump in here. And of course, as many of you know, I do read through as many of the comments as is reasonable for those of you who are listening and not watching so that you can keep up with the conversation. Legends is there. Sven is here. He says he's in mid-Michigan, of course. 115 is here. Glad you could all join us here today as we get ready to dive in and see what is going on in the world today. Some of the outrageous things that we have to contend with in this walk that we call life, which should be a lot easier than it is, if not for the people that we encounter along the way. And unfortunately, some of these people are in power and authority, and they make the rest of life very difficult for everyone else. It could be so much easier, and it's not. If only we were all Smurfs. The Smurfs, of course, I love the Smurfs, but originally was intended to introduce the concept of socialism to children. Ineffectively, of course, because they didn't get it. And of course, we're not Smurfs. The only reason that it works is because Papa Smurf legitimately loves and cares about his Smurfs and would never harm them or mislead them, unlike human beings. And when they get power, they screw everybody over. That's why it doesn't work. Any form of government can be made to work if it had benevolent leadership. That's why no government works. Some are worse than others, though, to be fair. Some forms of government are much worse than others. As we get ready to jump around here, and we'll start in Mexico. Oh, and Dusty has joined us. For those of you keeping track, you may have seen her pop into the chair back there. I'll see if I can get her in. Dusty is sitting in the chair. How you doing, girl? Dusty the cat. Her brother's in here too, but he's sitting elsewhere. Sleeping elsewhere, I should say. But we're going to start off in Mexico. Mexico City. And this is UPI news because they're not going to talk about this locally unless they're going to put a lot of spin on it. And when I read this, you'll find out why. Mexico City water crisis nearing day zero. And what you're looking at here, the crowd, that is a protest. And what are they protesting? The fact that they don't have any water. Yeah, that's great. Don't go find any water. Protest. So here we go. Mexico City, one of the world's largest and most densely populated cities. That's true. Could be on the verge of running out of water, and prolonged drought and above average temperatures are hastening the problem, Mexican authorities have said. They've had this problem for decades, so don't blame it on anything modern, please. In recent days, some Mexico City residents have protested in the streets to raise awareness of the shortages. I think everybody in Mexico City kind of knows that there's a shortage. You don't have to protest to raise awareness. Anytime they say awareness, you're being deceived. According to local authorities, water levels are at their lowest levels in recent history. Protesters have taken their frustrations to the National Water Commission in Acambe, which sits in the state of Mexico and in the Azcapotzalco, I don't know if I said that right, municipality in Mexico City, where angry residents blocked vital roads to draw attention to the lack of water. Water is a centuries-old issue in Mexico City. Thank you for pointing that out. Centuries-old issue. When the Spaniards settled in the 16th century, they saw the abundance of water as an impediment to growth, and so raised many of the old buildings, drained the lake bed that lies beneath Mexico City, filled in its canals, and cut down forests. Thank you, Spain. That's really great of you. As I try to continue with the article here, they saw water as an enemy to overcome for the city to thrive, said Jose Alfredo Ramirez, an architect and co-director of Ground Lab, a design and policy research organization. Fast forward to 2024, and recent water shortages caused by higher than normal temperatures and prolonged drought have frightened and angered residents, some of whom say they are without water at their tap for months at a time. Again, not a recent problem in Mexico. Alejandro Gomez, who lives in Tlalpan, a tiny and picturesque district of Mexico City with cobblestone streets, a tiny town square dotted with trees, shops, and small restaurants, said he gets a trickle of water for a few hours at a time, barely enough to fill a couple of buckets. Then the tap will be completely dry for many days. His family exists on the water he can buy at the store. They capture the dirty bathwater to flush in the toilet. Quote, "We need water. It's essential for everything," Gomez says. The weather and drought are making life even harder, he said. Right now we are getting this hot weather. It's even worse. Things are more complicated. Now, Mexico City, again, has been steadily sinking for decades because it was, there was an underground lake. It's been filled in. And so Mexico City is sinking. It's essentially a giant sinkhole waiting to collapse. And the population of Mexico City hovers between 22 and 23 million people. 22 to 23 million people crammed into Mexico City. And they've had problems with drought and with water, as was pointed out in the article, for centuries. But I could easily see this being spun. I could see spin on this story trying to blame climate change. And I'm surprised that's not what they're doing here. But then, of course, this is not a local news story. This is an article from UPI News. It's not like USA Today or CNN or something. It goes on to say that Mexico City is highly prone to earthquakes and the effects of, oh no, they did do it, and the effects of climate change. I take it all back. Among the most densely populated places on the planet, Mexico City has been the victim of chaotic urban development and sprawl and leaky and inconsistent infrastructure, which has left its residents hanging in the balance in the face of the water shortages and demand increases. I take it all back. They did throw climate change in there, but at least they're not making it too prominent. You can't blame climate change, so-called climate change, for something that has been happening to Mexico City since the 1600s. And I'll go on to point this part out here because I had mentioned it. Let me see. It says that research shows the city sinks an average of 20 inches per year. Per year, 20 inches. And I'll catch up a couple of the comments here really quickly. Spectre says that makes sense and explains why I use that term to describe morons. Smurfs, you mean? And Gary Smith says hello. Glad you could make it, Gary. Thanks for joining us here today, talking about Mexico City and their major drought, and that they're protesting, but their protest is to bring awareness, which I hate that. That ought to be on my list of words that I'm sick and tired of hearing about, is awareness. Anytime you hear awareness, there's probably some kind of scam going on, because that's what it, like breast cancer awareness. Oh, buy the thing with the pink ribbon. Buy the soup can with the pink ribbon on it for breast cancer awareness. And what you're doing is giving them money to pay themselves to advertise to you more awareness. They're not helping anybody, they're not fixing anything. When you buy into an awareness program, all they do is advertise. That's what awareness is. We're going to keep telling you about it over and over. I know that breast cancer exists. How about you? Have you figured it out that there's such a thing as breast cancer? So when they say for protesting for awareness, that's a waste of time. If they protest to try to get their government to resolve the issue, which apparently they can't, there's just too many people in Mexico City. Like I had pointed out, their average is between 22 to 23 million people, one of the most heavily and densely populated cities on earth. Think about it. That's an insane number of people in one small location. And again, no local water resources that are reliable. What do you expect them to do? And John is here, says, new subscriber, I think you might be wrong about the red heifers not being the ones that will be used this year. Well, you can think I'm wrong if you want to. That's okay. I don't, there's way too much. I did the videos on the red heifer prophecy. As I pointed out, I've been hearing them harping on that since the 80s. They talked about it on 2020. They talked about it on, I think it was either 2020 or 60 Minutes. Even when I was a kid in the 80s, oh, a red heifer's been found. Oh, 3 of them went to Israel. Every couple of years, they got to rotate them because they're only good between the ages of 2 to 5. And as far as I know, the purpose of the red heifer sacrifice is because the ashes are used in a water mixture for mikvah, for washing away of sins, not to dedicate the temple. If you read your Bible, read the Old Testament, how did Solomon dedicate the temple when he built it? He sacrificed oxen. He started with the sacrifice of oxen. But I mean, it remains to be seen. You'll find out if they build a temple and sacrifice them in the next, 2 years, I think that those heifers have. If it doesn't happen then, and they have to go get more red heifers, and then all the prepper and religious channels go in an uproar and tell you, oh God, red heifers have been found again, like they did 2 years ago, and 2 years or 3 years before that, and a couple of years before that, and so on, as far back as the founding of Israel or the new founding of Israel. We'll see. I could be wrong, and that's fine. But I wouldn't hang on it until a temple is actually erected. And New York is here, says loves coffee and knowledge is power. Yes, indeed. And Cruising says they like to pretend they never heard of whatever the subject of the current awareness month or day or week is. There's too much of it. There's way too much of it. And this is something interesting. This is from Texas, and this is a subject that's been getting kicked around a lot. It's in and out of the news. It's in and out of the news. And then Gary Smith said red heifers are always around. Yeah, they're not that rare. It's not like an orange heifer or yellow heifer was born. It's like fluorescent green, something like that. They're not that rare that they can't find them, but they rotate them because, like I said, they're only viable between the ages of 2 to 5 years of age. No younger than 2 or 3. Is it? Yeah, sorry. No younger than 3 and no older than 5. And this is a Daily Mail article. Texas judge rules against teen Daryl George, who claimed suspension over his dreadlocks was a violation of his rights. You might have seen that story because they tried to sue the Texas School Bureau because his dreadlocks, they claimed that he was being attacked for his culture because his dreadlocks or the way his hair was violated the school's policy. And as you know, there are still a few schools out there in school districts that still have a grooming and appearance policy. A lot of them have done away with it. You can show up in your pajamas and a pair of Crocs and your hair all over the place, and some public schools don't give a damn anymore. There are a few that still stick to rules. This is one of them. Article reads, a judge in Texas has ruled against a teen who claimed that suspension over his dreadlocks was a violation of his rights. Daryl George, 18, a junior at Barbers Hill High School. How long has this kid been in school? Daryl George is 18 and he's a junior in high school? There's your problem right there. And Mont Bellevue has been suspended twice after the school district declared that his hairstyle violated its length policy. The Barbers Hill Independent School District that filed a lawsuit and argued that George's long hair, which he wears in tied and twisted locks on top of his head, would fall below his shirt collar, eyebrows, or earlobes when let down. District Judge Chap Kane III ruled in the school district's favor on Thursday and claimed that the ongoing discipline that George had faced is legal under the Crown Act, which is a bullshit policy anyways. The act, which stands for Creating a Respectful and Open World for Natural Hair, is a law which prohibits race-based hair discrimination against protective hairstyles like braids and locks. I doubt that anybody, and that's a picture of the kid. I don't know if this is how he wore his hair at the school, because he looks younger than 18 in this photo. I don't know where this photo is from. And you know how that works. Like every time somebody wants to protest and act like they're discriminated against, or somebody gets killed or injured, the pictures they circulate are from like 10 years earlier. I don't know if this is the hairstyle or not. I just want to point that out. He claims it's how he feels closer to his people, and it's how he feels closer to his ancestors. It's just who I am. Who are your ancestors? I bet he doesn't know. I bet he does not know who his ancestors are. He just wants to wear his hair like that. That might be, yeah, this might be how he's currently wearing it, because here he is at a press conference, and that would fall pretty low if he undid it. Now, anytime the Crown Act is kind of a joke to me, because the only time growing up in Boston, I've seen anybody given a hard time over their hair, no matter what color they were, is if they were really filthy. You know what I mean? They were really dirty. They were really filthy. The hair was dirty. It had an odor. It smelled bad. The kid had lice. And then the school had to step in and say something. So the Crown Act to me is just more turd polishing. Oh, let's act like we're doing something for certain communities by making a law that stands for something that already is on the record. Booger says they'll trust the Simpsons prophecy since they have a better chance of being right. Helter says people can change their gender but not wear their hair how they want to. Yeah, well, I guess. And Elect of the End Times says one of their ancestors is half Dan, the old Viking king. Interesting. All People says little known fact, the Crown Act was created by ADN for Caribbean and African migrants who demanded that society essentially worship their traditional hairstyles. Have you ever actually seen traditional African hairstyles? Anybody? It doesn't look like this. So they do some weird stuff, and this ain't it. And I doubt anybody in the United States would want to do half of what they actually do in Africa. Urban Angst is here, says hello. Dragon says this is the definition of government overreach. Yeah. And the warden says if he wants to be closer to his people than he needs to hurry up and graduate and get a damn job. Yeah, that's what I mean. He's a junior in high school at 18. Something's not right there. Urban Angst says dreadlocks predate everyone. It's not a black thing. Yeah, it's not a black thing. But real traditional African hairstyles that, like I said, if you look at images from Africa and you look at how they do their hair, how some of the real tribes do their hair, it's not anything that they would do in the United States, and it sure as hell would not be permitted in a school, Crown Act or not. There would be too much of a problem because some of them use cake mud into their hair and things like this. Hold on, I got an example. I'm going to pull it up for you so that you can see, because I was looking for this so that I could share it and make just to make the point. Just braids is not a real African hairstyle. That's a more traditional tribal hairstyle right there, and that is mud in her hair that she used to make it thick like that. And Gary Smith says many Africans are nearly bald. Yeah, and this is why. Cruising says junior in high school at 18 is normal depending on the time of year his birthday falls. Okay. Maybe I misunderstood something there, Cruising. All People says, unlike migrant blacks, the historical slave descendant blacks in the United States never whined about how anyone responded to their hair and assimilated to the hair of Western norms. As we tarry around here, oh, here's something I wanted to share. Since we're on the subject of Black History Month, just in case you were wondering how important this really is, this is an ad from Mattel honoring Black History Month with Black representation. So Hasbro, in order to honor Black representation, it says to commemorate Black History Month, we're showcasing products that promote diversity and celebrate the power of inclusion. This, by the way, is a vampire. Two of them are, because they have fangs. See? I hope that's what that is. So, yeah, Black History Month, we want to sell you dolls. Inspiring women encourage big dreams with dolls that pay tribute to great role models and trailblazers. This one right here is supposed to be Rosa Parks, by the way, and I guarantee you she never looked that good. Oh, historic storytelling. Yeah, so Black wrestlers. Okay. Black History Month. Sell us some garbage. Sell us a bunch of junk, please, Hasbro. That's what I wanted. Sell us some garbage. Sell us your dolls for Black History Month. Here you go. More inspiration for you, courtesy of Barbie. That's Rosa. Oh, they put a bus in the background. Barbie Inspiring Women's Series Rosa Parks collectible Barbie doll. I bet you it's a damn fortune, too. How much does this thing cost? Let me look this up. Where to buy? Oh, it doesn't tell you how much it is. It just has a thing that says a thing you can click to find out where to buy this Rosa Parks Barbie. Let me see. Do you think that looks like Rosa Parks? Anybody? Is this how we want to celebrate Black heritage in America? Through the selling of plastic. Cheap garbage. Cheap garbage. Oh, and Cyberjack Sr. is here. Legend says they graduated high school at 19 and turned out great. Birthday is in May, and I was in preschool a little longer due to progressive late. Okay. And Sven says they have a Congolese friend that shakes his head about all of this. He's truly an African American. He believes if you perform, you are included. And the warden says they're promoting division and nonsense. And then Urban says, hey, how come there's no dreadlocks, Barbie? I don't know. There might be. There might be a dreadlock one. Who knows? I don't follow it that closely. I just thought that was pretty ridiculous, in my personal opinion. Pretty freaking ridiculous. And speaking of ridiculous and following the same trend, I got one even better for you. And New York says they're definitely sowing division into the kids' minds. Yeah, into everybody's minds. They want us divided. They don't want us to cooperate with anything. Cruising says as long as it turns a profit and relays a cheapened idea divorced from the true substance of the underlying ideals and philosophy, does it get any more American? I don't know. Not anymore. Not anymore. But speaking of Black History Month, I got another one for you. And this is from the Today Show. Beyonce becomes the first Black woman to top Billboard's Hot Country Songs chart. History in the making. More than 2 decades into her career, Beyonce is still doing what? Making history, because you don't have to risk your life to make history anymore. You don't have to do anything groundbreaking. You don't have to do anything that is somehow for the betterment of mankind or that changes the world forever. You just have to be a novelty act. You have to be the first person to do this or that. I'm the first 7-foot tall transvestite to play the violin in front of the White House. I made history. That's how it works now. So here we go. On February 20th, Billboard released its updated music charts and revealed that Beyonce's new song, Texas Hold'em, landed at #1 on the Hot Country Songs chart. The track, which she released on February 11th, along with another country song called 16 Carriages, is the music superstar's first #1 on the country chart. She also made history as the first Black woman to secure the top spot, Billboard confirmed to Today. Are you sure? Because I can't tell if she's Black or not. That's a picture of her right there. Blonde or white wig, actually. White wig, white cowboy hat. Oh, country singer now. She does not look Black at all. I heard somebody actually make the comment that she has the Michael Jackson effect. The older she gets, the whiter she is. But she does not look Black at all. Honestly, she doesn't look Black at all. And the fact that she's #1 on the country music chart doesn't mean a damn thing to me. It doesn't mean anything more to me than any other music chart does in this day and age. I have heard the song. I went and I listened to the song. It is not good. You can go and find it if you want to. Texas Hold'em. Give another undeserved view to it on YouTube. It's not a good song. It's barely a country song. It's any one of Beyonce's pop songs, but they changed the background music to have a country sort of sense to it, because it really doesn't even sound like a country song. It really doesn't. And the music sounds completely synthesized. It sounds like AI did the music. It doesn't sound like a band. It's trash like everything else she does. I don't think she's a good singer. She's a good singer. She's okay, but she's not as stellar as she's been projected. And when I heard she's at the top of the Billboard charts, I'm like, oh, they're setting her up for a CMA. So her husband bought her yet another music award. Fantastic. That's great. It's hardly groundbreaking. It's hardly music history. The song's not good. Urban says, let's ask Google AI, where did all the white people go? Well, right there. I mean, Beyonce, she looks Caucasian right here. She really does. I mean, it could just be the lighting, but yeah. Quote, we're thrilled to see Beyonce top our Hot Country Songs chart, becoming the first Black woman to land the #1 spot, said Hannah Karp, editorial director of Billboard, in a statement to Today. Excuse me. Oh my God. I don't know whether to laugh or cry. And like I said, it sounds like they took any one of her crappy songs and just put a country sound behind it, which I have seen done better. You know who, I'm sure a lot of you know who David Lee Roth is from Van Halen, and the song Jump, which was like Van Halen's first music video way back in the day. You might as well jump. There is a parody of it It's not a parody, it's a remix where they isolated the lyrics of David Lee Roth singing Jump and spliced it with a country music backdrop, and it sounds like a country song. They did a great job with it. It's great. This isn't. This is not. Oh my god. Cruising said the song sucks, unlike Darius Rucker's Wagon Wheel songs. And Sven says uh, there is a scent to it for sure. Yeah. Cruising says if you want to hear some black fellows really getting down to country and playing their own music, check out Gangsta Grass. Okay. And Sven says, oh, yeah, there is a scent for sure. I read that. And Zane is here. Zane has joined us. And All People says several of the actual black women in the United States have already charted on the country western charts. They did not reach number one, but they did chart and were singing actual country music. Yeah, nobody sat there and said that they were making history either, I'm sure. Because there are black country western singers. Not a lot of them, but they're out there. They're out there, and some of them aren't that bad. That's true. Urban says also Beyonce is racially appropriating Caucasian blonde hair. I thought that was a no-no. No, it's only a no-no if you do it. She can wear a blonde wig. She can wear long eyelashes. She can wear blush because her cheeks are pretty pink here. You can see it's pink. So she can wear blush, all of which is Caucasian-ish. But if you braid your hair, which people have done for centuries, then it's a problem. And New York says, I don't even want to waste my time researching it. Yeah, it's not worth it. It's not a good song. It really isn't. And Sven says, does the fifth angel of the apocalypse make all of the music and movies suck? Yeah, the fifth angel of the apocalypse is here to destroy all of our entertainment. That's that's what it is. As I have stated before, and it's not just because I grew up in that era, I really believe that culturally, everything peaked in the mid 80s. You could feel it building if you follow music, film, television, anything media related, comedians, even stand-up comedy. You can watch it slowly building and getting better and better through the decades until it hits the 80s. And then in the 90s, it starts to slide. And there's still some good music. There's still some good movies and stuff in the 90s. But the further away you got from the 90s, the lower it gets until we're where we are now. And now Hollywood, the music industry, everything, they're creatively bankrupt. The music is bad. The TV shows are bad. The movies are bad. The movies are so bad, people watch mediocre films and think they're good. And the true test of whether a film is any good is if you would watch it again. Would you watch it again? If you were flipping the channel and you saw it, would you stop and watch it because you're like, oh yeah? I would stop and watch RoboCop again. I would watch Citizen Kane. I would watch Ben-Hur. I would watch The Thing. You know what I mean? I would watch Commando. And that movie's totally brainless, but it's well done. Okay? Seriously. Modern films, I haven't seen a modern film since I don't know when. That if I never saw it again, I wouldn't give a damn. I wouldn't care. I would not care. And Brass Catcher says they 100% agree. And the warden says she looks like a prostitute auditioning for Howdy Doody. Oh, no. Hey, who knew that Howdy Doody had equipment? They put a little thingamajig between Howdy Doody's legs as an inside joke. And it was discovered by Andy Warhol when he was doing the portrait of Howdy Doody because he was curious and stripped the doll. New York says they're an 80s kid. And Joshua says, random question. I'm 32 and I think I'm balding on top. Any advice? And I've been somewhat splurging on the old videos. Good stuff. Well, thank you. Balding, I don't know what to tell you. because I don't know what to tell you. I can tell you, and I don't recommend the use of medications, but that Rogaine stuff and that kind of crap apparently does really work. So if it bothers you that much, um, you could go that route if you chose to. Me personally, if I was like crowning out, I would probably just shave my head because I don't want to put anything on my hair. I've got, I'm not like I'm not like losing a lot of hair. It's in there. I, it's probably not as full as when I was younger, but like I said, I would just probably just shave my head. And some people end up looking pretty good that way. And Cowboy says, "What are we talking about this afternoon?" We were just talking about Beyonce, and you missed it. Did you see Beyonce dressed as a cowboy, looking about as Caucasian as I do, with her terrible country music song that she apparently broke history with? And Zane says their favorite movie is Happy Gilmore. I barely remember Happy Gilmore. I think I've seen it, but I don't remember it too well. And Brass Catcher says Book of Eli. Okay. And New York says Back to the Future. Yeah, Back to the Future. I could watch it again. And Cruising says there's still very good music being made, but you won't find it on mainstream charts. You have to go to small production companies and independent artists. I could see that. I could see that. Brass Catcher says, heck yeah, Back to the Future and Demolition Man. And again, Demolition Man, goofy film, goofy 90s film, but it's fun to watch. It's well put together. And they predicted the future quite by accident because we sure did end up social distancing. Happy, happy, joy, joy. Have good feels day. Don't touch me. New York said E.T. Okay. Zane says they rewatch Mystery Men, Dodgeball, Happy Gilmore, The Road Train to Busy and the Babadook, etc. all the time. Okay. And Sven says High Plains Drifter. Is that High Plains Drifter you mean? It says Gig Plains Drifter and Red Dawn. I remember High Plains Drifter, Clint Eastwood. Red Dawn, the original or the remake? The original's better. So try to catch up. Mandanimal says they think cultural style of fashion movies and music peaked in the 40s. Oh, fashion movies? Yeah, back when everybody wore a hat, and no matter how hard you fought with anybody, rolling around on the floor and doing flips, your hat stayed on. And let's see. And Zane says the new Judge Dredd is better. Judge Dredd is better than the 80s. I think it was 90s actually. Zane, the Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone was a 90s production, and it's cool. It's fun to watch, but yeah, it's nothing like the original concept of Judge Dredd. But neither is the new one like the original concept of Judge Dredd, which is almost comedy if you read the original comics version. But there you go. Mandanimal says fashion in movies. Yeah, men's fashion has absolutely gone into the toilet. I see one more guy with his pants under his butt. Every time I see somebody with their pants under their ass and they have a belt on to try to keep them up and they got to walk like this because otherwise their pants will fall down, I just want to pull my belt off and start whipping them. Crack them in the ass with it. And Prime Mover is there, says, watch Happy Gilmore for the 1,000th time a few days ago. Never gets old. I don't remember it that well. And All People says, have you seen YouTube videos of the 1980s comedian Sam Kinison talk about solving world hunger? I have seen Sam Kinison. I've seen Sam Kinison live. And one of the things that he did, and I bring him up from time to time, and it's important, is because his parents were televangelists, and he was too as a child. And he showed a video clip of himself as like 5 years old wearing a white suit, prophesying into the microphone and all carrying on and on, Bible thumping hardcore in a filmed setting. Again, televangelists. And he shows the clip to warn people that most televangelists are bullshit artists. Because his parents didn't believe shit except passing the plate. And that was his point. That was his point. And Joshua says, "Thank you, everyone. I wonder if Hollywood is creatively bankrupt, or if at some point even every imaginable movie and show idea has been done." There's plenty of ideas out there. Like when they do the Marvel films and the DC films are a great example. MCU and DCU, as they call it, they've got decades worth of material going all the way back to the 1930s that they have the rights to, and they want to rewrite stories, or they want to make up new stuff, and they don't want people who appreciate the art form doing the work. We want a director who not only doesn't know anything about superheroes or comic books, but actually hates Marvel to be the director. That's sabotage, in my opinion. And I've used an example, and the example is actually the example is actually Wrath of Khan. As I'm sure a lot of you are aware, Wrath of Khan, the second of the original Star Trek films with Ricardo Montalban as Khan. And the main writer for that film, I saw in an interview, said he didn't really know anything about Star Trek. So what he did was he went and he got copies of every episode of the original series and watched all of them before he started working on doing the writing. And when he hit the episode, and I forget the name of it, is it the Space Seed with the USS Botany Bay, which was Khan's ship? Am I right? He really resonated with it. He was like, I bet you the fans would like this. Let's see if Ricardo Montalban is available. And to date, any Trek fan will probably argue that that was the best Star Trek film ever done. He didn't know anything about it, but he wanted to do the fans right. And that's the result. You get somebody who loves it, or at least has respect for his audience. And what you have nowadays, and Disney is incredibly guilty of this, buying up franchises and destroying them. The Simpsons, Star Wars, name it, they've ruined it. They have ruined it. Marvel, they've ruined it. Okay? Because they're looking at it in terms of a franchise. They're looking at it and saying, how much can we make out of this? Let's squeeze it. It used to make so much money. Instead of viewing it from the perspective of the cultural phenomenon that made it so important to people to begin with. Star Wars was a cultural phenomenon. The Simpsons was a cultural phenomenon. E.T. was a cultural phenomenon. RoboCop, because it had a huge impact on people. They loved it. Predator, Aliens were cultural phenomenons, not franchises. If you view it as only a franchise, you only care about how much you can make from it, and you don't do it right. And not just Disney, although they're easy to pick on because they have so many franchises, but not just Disney is guilty of that. And it can be done. And Cobra Kai is an example of that, because Cobra Kai, they wanted to pick it up in a way that it feels like it was left off. Let's do it right. Let's do what the fans would like. And they even went back, because people have speculated for years that Daniel was the actual villain in the original films. And if you, as an adult, if you go back and watch it, Daniel causes every problem. And then Mr. Miyagi ends up bailing him out. Every stupid thing. Even in the second and third film. Everything that went down in Japan, half of it was because Danny was there. Daniel was there, and the other people didn't like him. When that Japanese kid refused to help during the typhoon, it was because of Daniel and their conflict. The conflict between Miyagi and the other guy was resolved, and would have been resolved whether Daniel was there or not. and things would have gone easier, I think. But they even touched on that, hey, from the other perspective, Daniel caused a lot of the problems. They gave it fan service, if you will. You don't get that anymore. Urban says, as the left eats its own, so does Hollywood cannibalize its own past films, destroying the original creation forever. A lot of that stuff doesn't need to be remade. I'll tell you, like RoboCop, I had mentioned it. They remade RoboCop. The remake, it wasn't that bad. But did you have to call it RoboCop? Because it's nothing like the original film. You could have called it anything else. Anything else. Android Police. Something. Don't make it RoboCop. It's not. Excuse me. And Raccoon says Cobra Kai is awesome. Nature Nerd says Indiana Jones, Pirates of the Caribbean, ruined in recent years. Yes. Yes. Gary Smith said that's Karate Kid. All People says if ER is being made, Elliot's family will become Asian, Latino, or Black, and the little space monkey will become LGBT. Yeah, everybody there, only they'll be all women. Oh, you mean ET? Not ER. They'll be all females, or the males will be blithering idiots, and the women will have to rescue them. Urban loves Cobra Kai, says Ralph Macchio is still dreamy. And so many of the original actors make their appearances. It shows their love and commitment to the project. Absolutely. And it worked. And Zane says if you have to remake a film, use it to tell the story better. Yeah, I agree. I agree that it should be an attempt to make it better, not destroy it, not to ruin it. As we bounce back around, because we went down a rabbit hole, but that's okay. That is okay. That's why it's a discussion. That is why it's a discussion. While I still can, because my StreamYard is about to expire. Because they sent me the bill, and I'm like, oh, crap, because the bill's expensive, considering I don't get paid to do this. It's damn near $500 a year. I guess that's not bad. But I'm like, oh, no, not now. Now is not a good time. Because I barely, like I said, I don't get paid to do this, and the stipend that I get from AdSense is almost insulting. Local story, WSB TV News. Atlanta, new bill would allow drivers to not sign traffic tickets if they're pulled over. And I didn't know they did that in Georgia because, well, I've never been pulled over in Georgia. I have been pulled over in Kansas, but I don't recall them ever making me sign anything. A couple of times for a warning, that's nothing because I had a tail light that was out, something like that. Once because my license plate they couldn't identify. And that was actually a mistake from the DMV. They gave me my new plate and didn't register it properly. So my plate led to nowhere when you looked it up. And he was like, your plate's not on the system at all. And I'm like, you're shitting me. So I had to go to the DMV and get them to fix it. Stuff like that. I had been pulled over for speeding once in Kansas, but I don't remember them giving me I don't remember signing anything. I just remember getting a ticket. But here we go. And this is why this story is important. It says it's been 5 months since an Atlanta police officer tased church deacon Johnny Hallman when he refused to sign a traffic ticket, and Hallman died. Georgia lawmakers have a plan to de-escalate those kinds of traffic stops. The Georgia House passed a bill that would mean police cannot arrest drivers who refuse to sign traffic citations. I don't think you should have to sign it. I don't think so. Personally, I don't sign anything. I've learned that lesson a long time ago. I don't sign anything, especially at work. UPS, oh, we have to give you a write-up because you put a package in the wrong truck. I'm not signing a damn thing. And then they say you have to write that you refuse to sign. And I'm not signing that either. I'm not touching pen to paper. If you write refuse to sign, it's technically an acknowledgement because it means that you read and accepted. whether you write refuse to sign on it or not. Never do that. Let them write refuse to sign. So here we go. Who is this? Yasmin Neal. This bill addresses the moment of conflict. Yasmin Neal, Democrat, knows nothing about policing. She served in both Clayton County Police Department and Sheriff's Office. Oh, knows all about policing. I read it wrong. She wrote the bill that would allow drivers to refuse to sign citations. The officer would simply write "driver refused to sign" on the ticket instead. And she thinks that it would help to diffuse conflicts. It's nice to know we can finally move it, pass it, and make sure everyone goes home safely at the end of the night, Neal said, but there are consequences for refusing to sign. Drivers couldn't prepay tickets, and they'd have to appear in court. Failure to do so would mean immediate arrest. They're not going to immediately arrest you. They issue a bench warrant, and if you ever get stopped anywhere again, that's when they arrest you. They don't go looking for you. I think this is the video clip. Is this the actual video of the situation? Because I wonder how this escalated to the point where this guy.
Police custody. The family of Johnny
Washington spoke to Holloman
of Atlanta.
Yeah.
As we reported, Holloman died after Atlanta police died on August 10th, 2023. As we reported, Holloman died after Atlanta police officer Kimbrough tased him in the aftermath of a minor car accident. In the 63-page complaint, the family's attorneys accused Officer Kimbrough of excessive force.
Well, I mean, if the guy was fighting with him, I mean, if he's got to wrestle with the guy and tell him to get on the ground, and he's being, I don't care how old he is, that's why they have tasers in the first place, is because, and I know you couldn't hardly see that because it keeps defaulting to the little window. I don't know why it's doing that. That's why they carry the tasers in the first place. That's one of the reasons for a non-lethal response, because unless you're really infirm, it's not going to kill you. Secondly, the reason that they use tasers is because most police officers aren't in good enough physical shape to chase you down. They can't catch you, especially with all that extra equipment on. So that's why they use it. You couldn't see it all in that clip. My understanding was that church deacon, 65-year-old church deacon, got real pushy and handsy with the cop. And that's why it escalated to the point where non-lethal force was used. But again, he was not in good health. So when he got tased, it caused a bad reaction. So Joshua wants to know if I play video games. I think there are really good ones if you look past the others. Modern games, no. But vintage games, if you can see it right there, there's your Atari 2600. There's your Nintendo NES, your Nintendo 64, your SNES, Sega Genesis, GameCube, PlayStation 2. So all my stuff's pretty old. I do have an Xbox 360, actually. Cowboy says their car insurance more than doubled in 4 years. Maybe you could talk about that for a second. Did it? Is it getting that bad? What state are you in, Cowboy? And All People says Ralph Macchio must have Benjamin Button's disease because he looks identical to his original film character. Well, he was already in his 20s when he was doing the original Karate Kid. He just looks young. And Zane says they agree, don't sign shit. Yeah. And All People said that they really tase him over a ticket signature refusal. I think because the thing is, if you refuse to sign it, as the law stands or stood, you could be arrested for refusing to sign, because then you have to go see the judge. And so he was tased for resisting arrest, which is still BS. And like I said, I didn't know they did that in Georgia. I didn't know they did that in Georgia, but I don't get into a lot of trouble especially as far as traffic is concerned. And Urban says at least a traffic cop can't be called racist for asking illiterate migrant car thieves to sign anything. Yeah. And All People says it seems some police officers perceive various things as being resistance while others do not. And Urban says Atari and television. I got the Atari 2600. I don't have Intellivision. I remember Intellivision though. I never had Intellivision. I did have a Coleco though, ColecoVision. And for those of you who were watching at the beginning of this, Coleco had the original Smurfs video game. And yes, I had that. And Cowboy says they play Sega Genesis to this day. Yeah, my go-tos. I don't need anything else. I've got the Xbox 360. That's the oldest one I have. I barely touch it. When I have even time to play video games, but usually I either want to play the NES or the Sega Genesis. And Sega Genesis in particular, Streets of Rage 2, probably one of their best games. Streets of Rage 2 or Golden Axe 2, which I used to play in the arcade. And Golden Axe 2, one of the few games I could play all the way to the end without getting hit once. And I can't do it on the Sega Genesis because the controls are completely different. And Joshua wants to know what I do for entertainment. Well, basically, my wife and I share a lot of hobbies. And we exercise together. We go hiking in the woods together. I've got the vintage video games. We both collect and spin vinyl records, so on and so forth. And Zane says California has the highest rate of illiteracy in the nation. And Urban says they have a beat up Nintendo box, the original, but not sure where all the game cartridges are in storage. And Cowboy says 3 years ago, 384 a year. Then it went to 391, and now it's then 555, and this year 831 for limited liability. Really? And you haven't had traffic problems? You don't get pulled over a lot, or you haven't had an accident or anything? And Nature Nerd says the Nintendo Switch has loads of good games, though. Okay. And then All People said Sega makes robotic cats for extremely elderly Japanese widows. Oh, no. And then Spectre says all they play is Fallout 4. And then Legend says, hope you can get the $500 you need. Yeah, I know. It expires like March 1st. I'd like to be able to continue to do this. The thing is, I wouldn't be able to play it or do the video on more than one platform at a time. So I'd have to pick one. I couldn't do it on Coffee Talk and Prepper University and X. That would be out of the question. And then you wouldn't even be able to see me because they would pixelize the shit out of you to try to force you to buy the service. And they all do that because I tried other services before StreamYard. It is what it is. I'll figure something out. Elton Joshua's got to go. Glad you could join us. We're almost about to wrap up here anyways. And Cowboy says never pulled over, never made an insurance claim. I don't understand that. And Zane says they started playing D&D. It helps with the quick thinking skills, and they play pool and Texas Hold'em in person with friends. Okay. But anyway, since we are at the top of the hour and Dusty is still asleep, curled up in the corner there, I will go ahead and start wrapping things up again. You are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and that is at Coffee Talk Live and at Prep University on YouTube at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday, as well as on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Coffee Talk Chat, and Fistful of Radio. That's fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta, Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Friday at noon. So with that, I will go ahead and sign off. Again, thanks for everybody who was able to join us here this afternoon. As always, hope you got something out of the conversation, and we will see you again tomorrow.